Hi, I'm Peter Jenkins, a Fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society and a member of Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society. I was a photographer many years ago and I was always interested in astronomy, not a member of a club or didn't do any astrophotography. But my wife decided I should, so she bought me I think it was a £20 telescope as a present at one time. And I tried to attach a DSLR to it. It wouldn't have it. So within a few months, I'd changed to a slightly bigger telescope that would take a DSLR. And once I started taking images, I got hooked. It wasn't long before I had an Astro camera rather than the DSLR. Changed the telescope probably 3, 4, 5 times. Went to the International Astronomy Show and heard a Nick Shemanek giving a talk on narrowband imaging. So within a few months of that, I had a black and white camera and a set of filters and started narrowband imaging. That's all over a period of the last 10 or 11 years now, from the very first eBay telescope. I mean, at beginner's level, as an introduction, the new range of automatic telescopes with built-in cameras. They've got built-in focusing, they've got built-in stability, they've tracking, and all for around £500 to £600. Terrific start for someone. And if you get interested in what you're seeing, join an astronomical society, and you can then take it to further levels by changing equipment, buying smaller reflectors, and perhaps a DSLR to use with a small reflector. I think you quickly find that you're getting wonderful images and want to improve things by upgrading equipment time after time after time.
Does it become quite addictive?
It does. Well, all my shooting locations they're taken from home, from my home observatory. I don't, as such, image events like transits and things. I don't do those. The only event I could mention is the aurora recently, which I knew was going to happen that evening. So I was out with a DSLR and a tripod. But generally speaking, I have a look and see what's going to be in the sky once it gets dark with free software called Stellarium. So that's free software everyone should have that's interested. You set the time, location, and it tracks and shows you what's in the night sky. And you can pick an object and then plan the shoot around that. I had taken up astrophotography for a year or two when it was suggested I should go and have a look at Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society. They're not too far from where I live, so I went up one evening, just on chance. There happened to be a committee there, so one of the committee members came out and had a chat and suggested I could join, give me the papers to sign. I filled in the application form and joined, partly to learn astrophotography. And when I joined, there were very few people doing the type of astrophotography that I wanted to do. I mean, there were people using DSLRs and attached to telescopes, but I wanted to take it a bit further. So the internet was an extremely valuable resource. And I went to quite a number of talks at shows and so on. And so self-taught really. I've got quite a few books, read quite a few books, and watched an awful lot of tutorials on YouTube. Yeah, as soon as I was able to, I started giving talks and demonstrations and so on, and then other people started getting interested as well. So we've got quite a few now, and about half a dozen people who are seriously into astrophotography with similar setups to my own. I just find it a wonderful community that we can chat and show each other photographs that we've taken, and talk about the latest equipment, and if somebody's got something new, they'll bring it along and let us see it. Have a bit of a chat about that, and encourage one another in every way. Say the group, we've even got a young member who was shortlisted at the Royal Observatory, Young Astrophotographer of the Year, which was terrific. And yeah, it's become quite busy for astrophotographers. I'm a tutor and ambassador for a company called Telescope Live. I was asked if I would talk with them and do tutorials for them. And they have telescopes in Australia, Chile and Spain. And because I do tutorials for them, I can get access to all of those telescopes. I think there are 6 in Spain, 4 in Chile, and about 4 in Australia. The benefit mostly for me is their southern hemisphere scopes in Chile and Australia, because there are a lot of things that we can't image at all and never will be able to from the UK, because they're only visible from the southern hemisphere. So I get to image those things by controlling the remote telescopes. What we do is we just log on from here and select the object I want to image, select the filters to use, the length of exposures to use, and schedule the whole thing to run. I get an email saying your run is complete a couple of days later, and log on to their website, download all the raw files and process. The processing, of course, is, as usual, takes 2 or 3 hours, but we end with some marvellous images. We take a number of images through each filter that we use. The 3 main filters are hydrogen alpha, a doubly ionized oxygen, and ionized sulfur. We will take maybe 16, 20, 24, that's what I normally work with, images through each of those, and those exposures are all about 5 minutes long. So we're talking about hours of exposures. We use calibration frames, darks, flats and bias frames, and those are to correct for various aberrations. Dark frames remove pixels that are bright pixels in the sensor. Flats remove any vignetting and so on. So the images are run with the calibration frames. They're aligned with one another. They're then stacked together to remove noise. A single image has a certain amount of noise, and 24 images has a lot less, 10% or something, of noise. They're run through, the particular software that I use is PixInsight. There are others. PixInsight is it's just a wonderful tool. It aligns them for me, calibrates them for me, stacks them together. So I end up with 3 master black and white images, hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur. I combine those in Photoshop and apply changes to create the Hubble palette image. Those are changes that have been determined by years of experience by the Hubble team, by NASA, where you have the oxygen comes out as a blue colour, the hydrogen comes out as a brown gold, and sulfur comes out yellow in the images. So they're the typical Hubble palette images that you see from NASA. Challenging aspects are tracking is one. Polar alignment, to have the equatorial mount polar aligned and balanced is critical.
So you're saying polar aligned?
Yeah, sorry. The axis of the scope has to be aligned with the pole star, basically. And it has to be done very accurately. The pole star itself actually runs in a small circle. Now the stars appear to move, and Polaris itself appears to move in a small circle. So you have to look up where it is at a particular hour of the day. And when you look through the mount itself, or use a camera, you make adjustments so that Polaris is in the right place in the reticule. So that then when you turn the mount on, it tracks accurately, it moves in the same way that the stars appear to move. From Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society, Steve Wallace and Chris Dakin and I went to Royal Observatory about a year ago now. We put together a show of my images, which were projected in their dome. I think they have a 14-meter dome. It was staggering to see. I was just so surprised how awe-inspiring it looked on a dome like that. And it will look the same when we open our own planetarium. It was staggering. I just couldn't believe, and some of the demonstrations that we had and the shows that we had there, particularly like Pink Floyd, the Pink Floyd video projected on a 360-degree dome is just fabulous, fabulous. The people who are doing the software for our own planetarium, they showed some of their work as well. Leicester Space Centre, they have a planetarium, they showed some of their work. I was staggered. I have been to a couple of other planetariums before, but the nearest one to here I think is Leicester, and the next nearest one's Newcastle, I think. I've been to both, but the Armagh Planetarium with the images that we'd taken ourselves truly inspired me, and I will be putting together some photographs for projection in the dome, and really looking forward to it. A lot of the material that's available for domes are for children, for educational purposes. There are shows on planetary imaging, or planetary imaging on planets and movement. An enormous number of space-themed videos that can be shown on these domes. And I know that Steve has already looked into leasing quite a few of those. The school children from here will be amazed when they get to see them, and inspired, hopefully, to either take up astronomy as a hobby, or perhaps even aim towards being a physicist or an astrophysicist or something. I'm sure it'll inspire a lot of young kids. We already do. I know that that's the case, because the school visits that we have, Cubs, Brownies, Scouts, all sorts of visitors, really enjoy seeing the observatory as it is now. But once we open the Science Discovery Centre, there's going to be an awful lot more for them to see. Yes, without any doubt at all. I mean, I'm just going by Leicester. I know it's the Space Centre, and they have exhibits of some other things, but we intend to do exhibits as well, and there'll be tours around the observatory and the telescope that's there. There'll be other space-themed bits and pieces, and other sciences will be covered as well. So it will certainly become, for quite a big radius, I would say, around here, within 50 miles or so. Quicker coming here than going to somewhere like Leicester, which is a lot busier as well, of course. So yeah, I think this will become a destination. I know we're having signs put up on the motorways now, Mansfield Planetarium or the Science Discovery Centre. And people will see those, and people are already asking me, and those that know I'm a member, about the progress, and they drive past every day and are amazed at the progress that's going on. Looking forward to it opening. Even my car repairers are asking me about it. I mean, I was a member when that piece of land went up for sale, and we were sort of, they're going to build houses or something on that. They'll build houses, they'll destroy our observatory. And then somebody said, well, why don't we buy it? And so there was a fundraising done, and I think it was £20,000 or something that was an agreed figure at the end of the day, which we had managed to raise to buy that. And with the thought, maybe one day we could build a planetarium on that, you know, wouldn't that be wonderful? And I can't believe that it actually happened. Terrific. Terrific, and that's down to Steve Wallace, Martin Braddock in the first instance as well. Martin worked very hard, but he's a very busy scientist. Steve Wallace took over and he's done an incredible job.